In a world of podcasts, one rises in the night to destroy them all. The elder god in an ocean of noise, the Cthulhu of the airwaves. This is Spoiler Country.
Hello, listeners of Spoiler Country. Today on the show, we have the fantastic Miss Connie Giordano. How's it going, ma'am?
Hi, how are you today, Jeff?
Doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm very good, thank you. Happy to be here.
Oh, I greatly appreciate it. And so we're going to start off with a question I ask all my creatives. I always want to know when the bug bit you. When did you know you wanted to be an actor?
Ever since I was a little kid, Jeff, I remember my parents took my family to see a production of The King and I in Philadelphia. I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and Yul Brynner was in it. That's how old I am. And it was fantastic. And I just remember that I just fell in love with stage. I think it was pretty much love at first sight.
Oh, my mom's a huge King and I fan, so I'm well aware of the actors, and it really is a great movie.
It is. It is. They don't make them like that anymore.
No, there's very few, I think, just great theater production that seem to be out there that are brand new and kind of speak to an audience the way that movie did, that play did.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But, hopefully we're going to have a new generation of performers and writers coming up behind me that are going to put new stuff on the map, right?
Exactly. And so when you first thought about acting, was it always on the stage, or did you immediately think as well as TV and movies as well?
Well, I think I had that. I think every actor has that dream of being a movie star or whatever. They see, I watched Star Wars about 7,000 times and was in love with Han Solo. And I was like, I wanted to be Princess Leia, So yeah. I think that happens to a lot of actors, but I started on stage. My training's in stage. It's my strength. It's where I've been for a long time. It really, I believe it's how it's allowed me to hone my craft a lot. So I definitely started there, and I think those stage is my roots. But I now really want to explore television and film more, especially since it's become such a popular medium. Especially TV.
So when did you decide to attend the City University of New York?
I was in New York for 10 years, and towards the last couple of years there, I started thinking about school. I had one of those kind of aha moments with an audition for a Broadway show that I did not get, and so I kind of felt like it was a turning point for me. I was, of course, devastated because I didn't get the role, which happens, 99% of the time, but. Right. I kind of it was like a pivotal moment for me. I had to decide, do I want to pursue something else, or am I in this for the long haul? And I decided that I was in it for life. So I went back to school to really get all the training I could possibly need, and I thought if I decide to teach someday, I would like to have the master's degree to allow me to do that.
So as an actor, do you think that those who are successful in acting, a lot has to do with how you handle failure? Would you say that acting, because it is so many rehearsals, so many auditions, that it is in many ways sort of like almost like baseball, where you fail way more than you succeed?
Absolutely, Jeff. Absolutely. You have to be willing to hear no a lot. And I think there really is no overnight success in this business. So you have to have the tenacity to stick with it. And sometimes that means 5 years, sometimes that means 30 years, or longer. But I do think that that's what an actor needs, probably more than anything else in their toolbox, probably more than the skills and the talent and the luck and the connections and all of that. If you're not, if you don't have that endurance and that tenacity to keep going, it can defeat you.
I really do see parallels between acting and sports and just the approach. Because like I said, once again, my favorite sport is baseball. I'm an old school baseball fan. And I think there's so many players that, some get into the majors at 19, some make it when they're 30. And it doesn't seem to matter when you do it, as long as you finally get there.
That's right. I know it's cliche, but it's all about the journey, man. It's really true.
I agree with you 100%. And I think just the tenacity it takes to do it says a lot about the individuals who are trying.
Yes. Yeah. You have to be persistent. You just can't ever give up. That's what it comes down to, in my humble opinion.
So what kind of skills do you think you acquire by going to the university to become an actor versus those who may be trying it just through experience alone?
I think you need both, Jeff. I mean, if you take a different career path, like, medicine, and, a doctor does not go and perform surgery on their second day of med school, right? So he needs the experience, but he also needs the training that's required to learn the skills and the techniques and the education to constantly improve his craft, right? It's the same thing. I do think you need both. I started on the performance side. I think you could really say, because I was a little kid and I was in school and I did school plays and all that, but I didn't have a real acting class until I was in college. So, I think you need both. I think they're both vital. I think one gives you confidence to pursue the other, So the master's degree gave me the confidence to pursue these roles that, I've been fortunate enough to have come my way lately. And, I feel very blessed about that.
Would you say that the other people you performed with, did you find you guys that you were more, or that as a whole, more supportive or competitive with each other? Because you're obviously all eventually going to pursue a similar career. Would you more supportive? Do you think each other, there was more of a competitive spirit within the university?
Overall, I think it's a supportive environment. At least in my world, it's so important to support each other, and it's difficult, Jeff, for actors to provide opportunities for other actors. But it's very rare that one actor will pitch another actor for some film. It's very rare. I mean, we've heard this. I've heard the story about how Patrick Swayze got advocated for Whoopi Goldberg to be casting Ghost, but that never happens. That's why it was so rare and so wonderful. Right. I have hit for any actor to get me a role ever. But you have to, but you support each other. I try to encourage people when it comes to introducing someone for an industry professional, or recommend them, or tell them go to this theater because there's a play that you could be in. That's such a cultivating spirit that I think we need, because you know what, there really is something in this for everyone. Everybody can find their way and their niche, that as long as they have that tenacity that we talked about. So I think it's vital to be supportive of each other. I've of course experienced the competition as well. I mean, I've met actors who would, step on my dead body over my dead body for a role. And no question about it. But, performers are, I think overall performers are very happy people because they're pursuing their passion. And so they try to, I think they tend to be positive people in general.
And I would imagine acting is, or maybe just from the outsider perspective, and obviously I'm way on the outside. It sounds like it's such a small community that I imagine if you are one of those people who do step on others, it must come back around to those people eventually.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think that's true. It is a small world, and you don't want to burn bridges, and you want to be pleasant to work with. I mean, that's really important, especially working with people. It's no fun having to be tied to someone for 6 months or a year and a half. I mean, we were doing Mare for like almost a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
If you're not fun to work with or enjoyable and pleasant, forget it. You'll never work again. It's very rare. Again, it's rare. At least in my experience, people that aren't enjoyable to work with don't last.
Well, I read that one of your special skills is creating dialects or matching dialects. Is that correct? From school
and some of the roles I've played over the years, I've had to do a variety of accents and learn different dialects. Yeah. In fact, for Mare of Easttown, I didn't have to learn anything because I'm right. We were filming. The story takes place in my backyard, so it's the first time or one of the first times I haven't had to learn a dialect. I'd like to think that I don't sound as harsh as the Delco accent on the show, though.
I'm definitely going to Mare of Easttown. That's such a phenomenal TV show.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, I definitely. Me and my wife binged through the entire series
Nice.
in about, I think, on the first day. I think with day one we did it.
Good for you. Good for you.
So prior to being in Mare of Easttown, you did a lot of stage work, a lot of theater.
Hmm. Hmm.
So are the skills in acting in theater the same in acting on television or on film?
Some of the same like basic tenets apply, but they are two very different animals, and you have to. And that's what I feel right now, that's the skill that I'm honing right now, is acting for camera. Because yeah, like you said, I mean, I am very comfortable on stage, and like I said, that's my training, that's my roots. And stage tends to be much bigger in terms of performance, as opposed to camera, because for obvious reasons, when you're on stage and you're in a 500-seat theater, you have to be heard and be able to evoke emotion from someone in the back row, as opposed to on camera, where it's very much quite the opposite, where you're in front of this tiny little glass lens, but it picks up everything. It doesn't miss a thing. So it's almost the opposite, where everything on stage is external. When you're working in film, a lot of that work becomes internal, and it's up to the actor to connect with their partner in a way that the camera will pick up on it, but is also authentic. So it's challenging. I hope that makes sense to you, because it is challenging.
Oh no, it definitely does make sense. I mean, I can only imagine the difference in not only, I mean, your movements alone. I mean, for theater, I guess you probably have to be way more dramatic, because once again, you have to be seen by everybody. And film, you're
Yeah,
right there.
you have to be bigger. You have to be louder. You have to, even in simple things like enunciating and all that. That's all in stage. That's very outward and external. And then it's quite the opposite with film.
So is stage something you're eventually going to return to, or are you going to keep with just focus on film and TV right now?
Oh, I hope so. I mean, I still have the Broadway dream. I've made it to off Broadway, but not Broadway. So I still have that dream to perform on Broadway. For me, it's really not even about the medium, Jeff. It's about the story and the opportunity, that comes your way. So that, it's more about, wow, this is a great role, rather than it's on TV versus stage. That's what it comes down to most of the time. But yeah, I fully intend to stick with stage and pursue television and film, which is what's cool. What's one of the cool things about performing, is you can, change venues and all that when you're blessed enough to have the opportunities.
So how did your role on Mayor of Easttown come about?
I auditioned for it through my agent in Philadelphia, and they cast out of Philadelphia, New York, and Los Angeles. So I auditioned for it back in early fall of 2019, and fortunate enough to be cast. It was as simple as that. I didn't hear back for weeks, so I actually didn't think I got it, and kind of moved on, which is kind of what you have to do to stay sane. and I got a call. I was literally on my way to one of those survival jobs at 7 o'clock in the morning in my car, sitting in rush hour traffic, and I get an email from my agent, and they said, congratulations, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, I started screaming my head off in the car, excitement. But that's how it happened.
Is it normal for such a long span between the audition and getting the role? Is that how Hollywood works?
It's different all the time. Somebody just asked me that yesterday. No, I have waited a week. I've waited a day. I've found out I've been cast in the same session, or they say, stick around for another hour. But sometimes it can take weeks. Like this took weeks for me to hear. And that's just it, it's just the nature of the beast. It really just depends on the project. It's literally like that cliche of waiting by the phone thing.
So, I mean, how does one get into the actor mindset of just kind of like, obviously you're performing, you're waiting on the audition, but you're also performing, potentially going for another audition. It seems like a lot to, I'm trying, like, just psychologically, a lot to take in, having to, wait on these roles like that, and and that moment of success or the moment of failure, and not knowing for spans of time.
It's true, and you just get used to it, Jeff. I mean, it's so funny because sometimes, thankfully the auditioning world is just opening up again. And with COVID, things were so slow for so long And I mean, I'm just now starting to see auditions really pick up, which I'm thrilled about. Sometimes you're like, I could have like a commercial audition in the morning and then like an audition in the afternoon where I have to play, like a cancer patient or whatever, something very heavy and dramatic.
Right.
You do have to learn how to switch gears, but like anything, you just get used to it. And the more you do it, the better you get at it.
So
but you kind of have to accept that it's like that.
So was Mare of Easttown filmed during COVID or before? Or
before? So we started in 2019, in the fall of 2019, and then made it all the way through to March of 2020. And then they shut down for COVID for about a little less than 6 months. So we picked back up again in, I think it was about October of 2020. September, October of 2020, something like that. So then we finished by the end of the year.
So you did have to work for a little while under COVID protocols, I would imagine.
Yes. And they were wonderful about that. I mean, HBO, they were really on top of it. Like I had to quarantine for 3 days before going back to the set.
Oh, wow.
And that was standard. They were really on top of all of it. And, I don't think there was any, at least not that I noticed, there wasn't any fear on the set. Everything was run very well.
So prior to you actually filming Mare of Easttown, what did they tell you about the show, and what did you know about it prior to receiving the role?
All I knew was that it was an HBO series. I didn't know anything about the cast. I didn't know anything about Kate Winslet. I just knew it was filming in our area and that it was HBO. That's really all I knew. And of course, as soon as I found out, I was delighted. But basically all I had was a couple scenes, Jeff, that they gave me to work on. That's pretty much the norm. Like, you typically don't get the backstory, you don't, especially if it's something new, of course, if I had an audition for Law and Order, I would know, I would be able to easily access what that means, what to expect and what they expect and all that in terms of a character and acting and all that. But yeah, for this one, that's pretty much all I knew, was that it was a series, and it was for HBO, and it was filming in the Philadelphia area.
Well, that says a lot of just on its own. I mean, HBO has it's so prestigious, their series on those shows. I mean, just the name of HBO series carries a lot of weight with it. Yes,
that's all I needed to hear. Some of my absolute favorite shows of all time have come from HBO. So yeah, I've always been very impressed with their body of work.
I find that a lot of HBO series, they just feel like, instead of maybe a regular series, they almost feel like just long form films on some level. I mean, yes. You know what? It's funny. It took me back to the dating myself here, but back to the miniseries and this show. I know we've all been watching, Netflix and all that for a few years now, so we're all used to these seasons, right? With like 7 or 8 episodes, and sometimes you binge watch it, or sometimes with Game of Thrones you had to wait. But I had HBO, right? So I deliberately did not binge watch it from the app because I just loved waiting every week, and I would have a few of the episodes. I would have friends over, and this was at 10 o'clock at night on a Sunday. I don't know about you, but 10 o'clock at night, I want to be in bed on 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. But it was so much fun, like waiting every week and the anticipation, and my gosh, the messages I would get every week. I got daily text messages and social media stuff of, I think I know who it is, and blah blah. I heard that constantly, and it was really, it added to it. It was fun. It was kind of like waiting for Star Wars again or something. well,
I don't know why I keep referencing Star Wars, but
because it's fantastic. True. Star Wars is absolutely the original trilogy is absolutely amazing.
Amen. There you go. A man after my own heart.
Yes, you're definitely on a nerd podcast. So anytime you want to drop the name of Star Wars, go right ahead.
Well, I'm right there with you, Jeff. Fellow geek here.
And I will say, me and my wife, when we watch Mare of Easttown, we spent so much time just debating who it was. Like during episodes, unfortunately, even during the episode was running, we're like, it was him. It's him. It's got to be him. It's like, nope.
Yeah, which was what was cool about it, right? There were so many twists and turns in the plot. You didn't know whether you were coming or going. I loved that about it.
I think it was terrific. I mean, they did such a good job of modeling the characters as well. and creating a real feel for Easttown, which I will admit I did not know it existed until the show came out. But but Easttown is a real place.
Mm-hmm. It was, and I think Brad Inglesby, the writer, so talented. I think he really captured the sense of community of this area. His story focused on the not so great part of Delaware County, but Delaware County is an enormous county around the Philadelphia area, the Philadelphia suburbs, and some of the towns in Delaware County are quite affluent, but Brad decided to focus on the not so affluent part of Delco. And I think he captured it really well. I mean, between him and Craig Doble, the director, with the cinematography, like, the different shots of the different neighborhoods and all that, and the way they dressed and the way they talk, of course, with the dialect and the constant reference to Wawa, it kind of led together and worked.
So you grew up not too far from the real Easttown, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. I grew up in Valley Forge, which is in Montgomery County, right next to Delaware County. But I actually was born and raised in Delaware County until I was 6 years old and my family moved. But I still have family in Delaware County. And it's, like I said, it's a pretty large area of the Philadelphia suburbs. So it includes a lot of small towns. But yeah, it's basically my backyard. So
in watching Easttown, it does look and feel like the real Easttown, the actual one?
It did. It did. A lot of where the filming takes place is a bunch of different areas in Delaware County, but kind of focused on Upper Darby, Springfield and Media, Pennsylvania. They are all like fairly close to Philadelphia. And yeah, I mean, it really looks like that.
So what was it like to work so close to where you live? I mean, I assume Hollywood.
It was an easy commute. For one, it was great.
I can't think of most films. I mean, it must be unusual to have things filmed in that area.
That never happens.
Never?
Well, never happens. Philadelphia is definitely, in the last, I'd say 10 years, we've been fortunate to have a lot of film production go on here now, and television, because we built a very large studio down in Afton, PA, which is in Delaware County. But also the Philadelphia Film Office offers incentive for productions for producers to come here. They offer some wonderful tax credits. So that's a great lure, and it's smart. So, filmmakers are learning that they don't have to be in Hollywood to make a movie.
Yeah. I live in Rhode Island, and for a little while we were doing pretty well in the film industry. We started getting some projects. I guess they were getting tax breaks to do it, and for a while it was really cool. They had, I think, Meet Black was shot here during that period of time, and a few other
neat.
Yeah, and then they decided to end the tax credit, and we never got anything else ever again, and it was really a bummer.
Yeah, well, hopefully these government officials are going to catch on, right? If you want to. And hey, it's revenue for your city. So, I mean, why not? It does make sense, and the Philadelphia actors are thrilled, believe me.
Oh, I can only imagine. I mean, imagine the scale of Mare of Easttown was pretty huge. I mean, it wasn't a massive cast, but I imagine that those around the film, it must have been so many people involved.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We had several different production companies and tons of extras and tons of local actors and all of that. So yeah, it was a pretty big production. Yeah.
And I can't. I mean, just the idea that they shot at Easttown in the actual Easttown must have given the show so much character. Because when I was watching Mare of Easttown, it felt almost like the town itself was its own character.
I agree with you. Yeah, I've heard that from other people too. And again, to me, that's great writing and great directing. You really had a sense of what this area is like, how the people relate to each other, what a close-knit community it is, how there's this rough exterior, but once you're in for life. I mean, I've had people tell me that have moved to this area. I have some friends, the husband is from Texas, and the wife is from Oklahoma, and they moved here over 20 years ago. And they told me years ago, I'll never forget it. They said, Connie, it took us 10 years to make friends here. And these are some lovely people.
Right.
But they said, they felt like Northeasterners have this kind of rough exterior, and they're kind of closed off to newcomers. But once you're in, and that's very much Delco.
And the other thing I thought was funny on Easttown is that my wife commented on it, that it seems like so many of the characters on the show are related to each other. Everyone's a cousin of a cousin, something like that. Is that actually how it is?
Well, it's funny. I was at a cousin reunion just about a month ago, and that's the first thing they all said as I walked in. They went, "You're my cousin, and you're my cousin, and you're my cousin." I happened to be at a cousin reunion, but it's a tight knit community. It is, and that's the charm of it. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to think we're not all related, but but it is a close knit community. It is. And it's impressive considering that it's a rather large community too. I mean, we're not talking about a little teeny tiny town here.
Because like on Easttown, I was thinking it was a small town, but it's huge.
Well, Easttown. So I mean, it's funny because you say Easttown is a real town. Now, I mean, I've heard that, but it's terrible. I have to do my homework again, I suppose, because I know Westtown, which is very close to me. But Easttown isn't near me at all, so I don't even know where that really is. I mean, I know I looked on a map 2 years ago, but I mean, in terms of like, nobody I know is from Easttown.
Right.
But I think what Brad did was kind of combine different towns and kind of make it into a fictional town. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I think there is an actual Easttown, and I know there is a Westtown. But I think the story, it's definitely filmed in a lot of different locations. That wasn't all in one area. We were up in Bethlehem. The set where her home was filmed was in Aston, PA. We were in Media a lot. The restaurant where my character's family owns the restaurant that my character's family owns was in another part of Delaware County. So I mean, we were all over the place. It's a big area that we covered.
And I mean, the show really is fantastic. You had this fantastic, powerful scene alongside Kate Winslet within the restaurant when your fictional daughter is being arrested.
Yeah.
Now, what was that experience like? That the power of that scene, the interacting with all the other actors in that moment. What was that like?
It was wonderful. I mean, it was a very long day. I remember because the more people that are involved, the longer a scene will take to film. It was great. I mean, it was intense. I do remember towards the end of it, and towards the end of the scene, I did find myself saying I'm channeling my mother because I chased after my daughter saying, "Put on your sweatshirt for Christ's sake!" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've become my mother." But it was cool. It was the cast were wonderful, and it was really terrific working with such strong actors and. I just hope for more.
Now the actor who played your daughter is Mackenzie Lansing. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
delightful actress.
Yeah, and so what was that experience like? And the one thing I felt I wish there was in the series was some idea of that family life prior to that moment, like some more interaction within the family. Do you kind of wish you had more scenes with Mackenzie Lansing leading into that moment?
Well, that sounds like a great opportunity for another show, Jeff.
If anyone is
the Del
listening.
Rossos. That works for me. Can you let them know?
Oh, most certainly. If they're listening, there's always a spinoff.
Believe me, I've had my friends have joked with me about. They're like, we want to see more Patty. What goes on in that restaurant? So.
Right, because I must say that the character that Mackenzie Lansing played, she's kind of rough. I mean, what was her parents like? My God.
I know. Believe me, I've thought about it. I'd love to explore it. I mean, and Mackenzie, of course, is an absolute sweetheart in real life. She's nothing like that character at all, which makes it even more interesting to see where we could go with it.
Now, was there a discussion between at all you, Mackenzie, and the gentleman who played the husband, and trying to kind of create a kind of a story for yourself, so kind of just figure out the relationships there?
Yeah, I mean, on our first day on the set, we actually had like a table read. We didn't actually do any filming, and we all talked about our characters, and that's kind of typical. If you have the luxury of that time, you kind of try to before you start filming, you try to get together and get to know each other a little bit, rehearse a little bit, sit around and do a table read and read the scenes together and talk about the story and talk about the director will share his vision. And so, yeah, we did have an opportunity to do that a little bit in the beginning, which was nice. And it's a great way to get to know your fellow actors and bond a little bit.
Can you share at all the fictional backstory you created for the character made of that doesn't show up on the screen that you may have discussed a little?
You mean my character?
Yeah, your character and like the kind of like the because sometimes like you said, create like a little backstory for yourself and try to, and obviously that wasn't on the film or told, but something you kind of did for yourself to try and make it to get there better for yourself.
Authentic, sure. Yeah, well, so what's funny, Jeff, is that there's a lot of details about my character that are similar to me. I am from an Italian family. We didn't own a restaurant, but I worked in so many restaurants as an actor that I can't even think of them all anymore. For many, many years, I was the waitress and the bartender, all of that. So on our first day of filming, the first day we were in the restaurant, in the Del Rosso restaurant, and I thought, first thing I did as soon as I walked in, I got overwhelmed with all these memories of working in the restaurants when I was younger and the smells from the kitchen. And then I said, I came full circle, And so it's funny. This role for me fit so easily. And they don't all fit so easily, but there was a lot. My character and I share a lot of common characteristics. I love to cook. I make my own gravy every summer with the tomatoes that are coming in right now from Lancaster. And so those are all the things in my own personal life that I like to bring, that I found that I bring to building this character. This was not that much of a stretch for me. And what I knew about her from the script, which actually not all of that made it into the show, added to it as well. Like my character was when I auditioned for it, was the character description was she was a nurse. So that was when I went to audition the day before, and I was deciding what to wear, and I went, and this sounds silly, but it's true, I went to get my nails done, and I remember telling the guy, well, I'm going for a nurse. And he's like, well, then you can't have polish on your nails. So little things like that,
Right.
So that, yeah. And, and it's funny because he hasn't been back to that salon. So I really want to go back and tell him, guess what? You were right. It's true. But, so it's little things like that you try to find that make the role fit better on you. It's like a glove and you want it to fit right, or, or a sweater that fits just right. And you do what you can to make sure it fits.
So, by the way, I just want to drop this question real quick. As a Rhode Islander, you're making gravy with tomatoes?
Yes, I know. This is the Italian in me. My grandmother was an immigrant from Italy. And I mean, when I was conditioned as a kid, every September, my grandmother was smart. She had all the grandchildren. It was like an assembly line in her kitchen, and she would can tomatoes for gravy. Most people call it sauce.
Yes.
But when you're when your grandmother's an immigrant from Italy, you call it gravy.
I imagine that like 90% of our listeners were like, I think she means sauce.
Pasta sauce, yes. But it's hard for me to say that. I'm just conditioned that way,
Well, like I said, I think
Italian in me.
Well, go back. I mean, I think you guys did a fantastic job with Mackenzie Lansing, who's going to be on the show, I think, in a few weeks.
Okay.
And it'd be great to get some perspective. So, once again, I think it was just a very interesting family unit. I really would love to learn more about the backstory to all these characters, because, like I said, that character, the daughter, seemed like she went through a lot. But you guys seem so nice.
Yeah. Oh, she's lovely, and she did a wonderful job in the role as well. And I'm with you, Jeff. I'd like to explore the dynamic of the Del Rossos. That sounds like a good sequel.
Was there any discussion of a second season? I mean, is it a season? Would it be a sequel? I don't know how they would frame it.
Yeah, so it was presented as a limited series. I have been asked endless times if they're going to continue with it. I've heard rumors, Jeff. As of now, I don't know of anything. And if there was something to come along, I'm sure it would take Brad, the writer, some time, of course, because if he's going to do it, he's going to do it right. But I have heard that there's an interest in that, but I certainly can't confirm anything.
I mean, the show is so successful. I mean, not only is it successful with critics, but the fan base the audience was very taken away by the series. I mean, are you surprised at just how successful that show became?
When I read the script, I knew it was going to be good. I was like, so over the moon, because I just thought the writing was amazing. Because he just wrote the characters with so many layers. I knew that it was going to be a hit. I didn't know how much of a hit, I mean, I just found out we received 16 Emmy nominations. I mean, that's just thrilling. I understand there's several like Mare of Easttown Facebook pages and stuff like people have gotten really into it. I'm thrilled. To me, that means that he wrote so well that people could relate to it, and they wanted more and they wanted to talk about it. I mean, it's true. I've heard, I'll turn on the radio. I still hear people mentioning it. It's a riot how much it's resonated. And I'm thrilled about that, and to me, that's just a sign of great writing and great directing.
Well,
and acting, I hope.
Yeah, most certainly the acting was, like I said, all the characters, you very quickly forgot that you're watching actors act. You get drawn to the characters and they feel so real and tangible almost immediately. I mean, by the end of the first episode, each one feels legitimately like real people in your mind.
Yes. And I mean, it's in when you're watching Kate Winslet that we all know so well, and you forget that you're watching, Rose from Titanic. To me, that's just a testament to her talent. I thought she was fantastic and did an incredible job. And so, great writing, great acting. And yes, it ended up being this amazing story. And I'm absolutely thrilled about that.
And your acting as well. I mean, like I said, you did a phenomenal job. Like I said, everything just felt genuine, which is hard to do in the world of fiction. Make something feel legit and genuine. Right.
I agree. And thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Oh, it's definitely my pleasure. Thank you for putting on a great show. Well, was there one moment that when you realized that it was going to be so big?
Yeah, I think it's so hard because I don't want to give anything away. There's a few particular scenes that, so I can't say because I can't ruin it. but there's a couple scenes that I read with the mayor's family. Let me just try to be as subtle as I can. That I knew it was just so moving and emotional, and then of course the intrigue of this murder on top of it. I just, and the fact that every episode that I would read, I thought I knew what was happening, and I was dead wrong. So I knew that's what I really knew because life doesn't have that many surprises anymore, and so
right.
To be surprised with a story like this, I knew from there that it was going to be a success because it's just hard. I think it's hard to write mystery to keep people guessing. I think it's very difficult. So.
Oh, I agree with you 100% because you're stuck with often two possibilities, which is the most common. One, too easy to solve and everyone figures it out. Or two, it comes from so far into right field that no one buys the reveal. But Mare of Easttown did it, so it neither was one of those things and felt like Jim. When you saw the end, you're like, that does make complete sense now.
Yes, I agree. You're right, and that's a rare gem to find.
So what are you working on next?
So I'm auditioning. Like I said before, the world. Thankfully, the acting world is just now opening up. So, God willing, I get to announce something fun soon. I'm not able to reveal anything yet, but as soon as I am, I'm thrilled to make some announcements. And we'll see what's next.
Well, anytime you're ready to make an announcement, you have a platform on Spoiler Country. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
You're always welcome back. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It was so much fun. I appreciate it.
You as well. Have a fantastic night, and like I said, come back anytime.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks so much.
Spaghetti. And we're back.
That's right. We are back. Back in the saddle again. Well, I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that as much as we did making it for you. And if you like what you heard and you want to hear more, you got to go check out spoilerverse.com, because at spoilerverse.com, we have a plethora amazing directors and artists of all walks of life and editors and writers. And oh my God, are you a lover of comic books like we are? Then there's so many amazing people from the comic book world over at spoilerverse.com. And I highly implore you to go there and check it out.
Yeah, and while you're there, you can check out all the other podcasts on our network, like Bridging the Geekdoms and Funny Book Forensics and Haphazard Adventures and Nerds from the Crypt and so many more.
Misery
We put out
Point Radio.
episodes all the time. Go check all of them out. And check out all of the reviews and previews and articles we have going up every single day for you. Every day on spoilerverse.com for you to check out and to read and to love and to like and to comment. We have a store link. You want to help support the site? You can do it two ways. One, go to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/spoilercountry. Or go to our store link in the middle of the site there and get a t-shirt, a face mask, a hoodie, something. Look fly as hell and help support the site when you do that because we get $1 or $2. And, maybe you want to talk to us. If you do, you can do it obviously on all the socials. But if you go to scpod.us/Discord, you can join our public Discord server and come chat with us all day long.
I couldn't say it better myself, dude.
There you go.
You just mouthed out a ton of information at once. And really, I hope you guys enjoy what you're hearing because we're working our butts off to bring it to you.
We are.
I guess there's only one left thing. Yeah, I'm going to go with it. There's only one thing left to do.
What's that?
In oceans of podcasts,
We are Cthulhu.
as Cthulhu compels you to
Spaghetti. Open the mind.
and read more.
Spaghetti.
What's going on, everyone? Are you still looking for that perfect one-stop shop for all things pop culture? You know, that one place where you can hear hot takes about superheroes, Star Wars, video games, and more? Well, fear not. Bridging the Geekdoms is the place for you. A podcast that focuses on the current rumors, scoops, and controversies within the pop culture world. Hosted exclusively on the Spoilerverse Network, you can find us on any one of your favorite podcatching apps, YouTube, and at spoilerverse.com. So don't miss out on the excitement. Find us and subscribe now.